What's going on?
Not much. How are you guys?
We're
Oh,
good.
good.
Not as good as you though. Yeah.
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, that's good. Well, it's good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you boys too.
Yeah, you got the four of us just squished into
Cram
this couch
sandwich.
here.
Yeah. I mean, I should have been there in person. I think we could have got five of us on there.
There is room over there.
We are
Yeah.
just a little spot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you feeling good today? Do you have a few drinks last night?
I had a couple dad waters there,
Yep.
rated with the boys, and then we had to drive to Nashville last night, and then we had a 6 a.m. flight this morning. So yeah, pretty crazy, pretty
Yeah,
crazy
that's a
24
quick
hours.
turnaround too to get back home, hey?
Yeah, well, we had to get home in time to ship my daughter off to kindergarten this morning. We landed at 8:15 and straight to school.
Wow.
Crazy. Holy.
That's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you're still probably just decompressing from what's been a kind of crazy past well, I guess a couple months, but culminating with yesterday. So we just wanted to hop on and kind of get your thoughts on, tell us how it feels to get back to the PGA Tour.
I mean, I'm thankful to be back there. Yeah, I mean, I've graduated now three times, so it's a cool feeling every time. But um, yeah, I'm more excited just to get back out there and start doing some work again.
Yeah, that's good. Do you find, obviously, being a guy that's been there, done that before, and you expect to be on the PGA Tour, so you knew your game was there. Do you see some of those young guys, making it for the first time and kind of brings you back to your first time?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a couple buddies of mine that are first timers. I'll probably, say a couple encouraging words to them to kind of steer them away from some of the distractions that you can get yourself into being a first year player. But yeah, yeah, it takes me back to that first year. I mean, I was so unprepared. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I was a deer in headlights, man, and I got sacked by a semi. It was bad.
Yeah.
So
Do you think there's going to be some of those guys that it might go in one ear out the other and run into that exact same scenario where they just get hit by that, you know?
yeah, and sometimes it doesn't matter how much the guy gives you advice, you kind of got to experience it yourself. I mean, I remember my first year, you're always the alpha dog, right? Like I was always one of the better juniors and then one of the better college players and one of the better amateurs. And as you work your way up the ranks, obviously more and more of those alpha dogs are showing up, right? And I was able to get through the Corn Ferry Tour in 2014. I get to the PJ Tour, and now I mean you're just walking down the line, and Rory McIlroy, Hideki Matsuyama, Justin Rose, Jason Day, DJ, Tiger was still playing, Phil's playing. I mean, it's like, man, these guys are super freaking good. I see my ball flight and then I see Jason Day's ball flight, and I'm like, holy smokes, if that's how he's hitting it, there's no way I can compete.
Yeah.
So you start trying to hit it higher. I mean, Jason Day hits it to the moon. He hits it so high. And there I am trying to change my game just so it can simulate his, right? Or, you go to a PGA Tour range, and I mean, you guys have been to a Canadian Open. It's just mayhem. There's people all over the place, and you think that everybody's on the driving range because there's 200 people on the driving range. So what do? Well, I guess a PGA Tour player's got to spend time on the range, and I ain't no range rat, and I turned into one on my first year on tour. So then come Friday when I need a little energy to make the cut, I got nothing in the tank, right? I'm running on empty. So little things you learn like that, you just got to play your game, the game that got you there, and own it. I might not compete every single week like a Jason Day in 2015, but if I stick to my guns, I can pull out a pretty good tournament here or there.
Speaking of kind of sticking to your guns, can you kind of walk? I know I was watching on Sunday there. You kind of walk us through like the whole happenings on 18. Like obviously you start off just striping that drive and then made it a little more stressful on yourself than you probably wanted it to be, but it looked like there was some indecision in the fairway a little bit from TV looking, but maybe just walk us through.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's tough because you have no idea where you stand. Like they didn't do a very good job of putting leaderboards out there. They had a leaderboard on 18 green that was facing the wrong direction. Like you couldn't see it from the fairway.
Yeah.
And I think the only other scoreboard that I know of was on 15 green. And it was kind of perched in a hillside. And I don't even think I looked at that one all week. And the one that you would see before that was probably on 9 green. So like there's no leaderboards out there. You have no idea what was going on. So I knew at 7 under, I knew I was inside the number. I just had a feeling. And then when I three putted 16, I had no idea. I was like, did that bump me out? Like, am I 31 now? Am I 32? Like, do I need to make birdie on 17 or 18? I didn't birdie 17, and I'm sitting there in the middle of the fairway. I knew, 18T didn't matter. Like, you got to hit the fairway. Like, if you're going to make a par or birdie, like, you just got to hit the fairway on that hole. It's a great hole. You just got to sack up and hit it. And I did. I sacked up and I hit it. And there I am sitting in the middle of the fairway, and I got a terrible number. A terrible number. I got like 179. Wind is off the left, water right of the green.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in between a 6 or a 7. And obviously, you probably saw some of the coverage. If you go a little bit past that pin, it goes in the water.
Yep.
So now I'm sitting there going, okay, I think I might need to make a birdie. At least I got to give myself a chance to make birdie. If I hit 7, the wind's going to hit it. And the 7's going to come up 30, 40 feet short. So that's not really a good look. So I got to hit a chippy 6. And then I was just like, I looked at my caddy. I was like, I wish I knew where we stood, because if par is all I need, it's a 7 iron. Like I'm just hitting 7 iron into the front middle of the green. And he's like, okay, well then hit a 7. And then I was like, oh yeah, but I feel like I got to hit it close. And I'm pretty good at hitting those off-speed shots. So I was like, I'm going to hit a chippy 6. And at the last minute, I'm just like, I don't hit it long. And I just chunked it short. I mean, what a terrible iron shot. And then I get up to the green and I see that I'm 30th at the time, right? I'm like, you're kidding me. Par is going to be good enough. So I was like, now I got this greasy, wet, tight lie, and I got to hit it over the bunker. And I'm like, oh, great. This is not like, it's not an easy up and down by any stretch. And I was just like, you got to do it. Like, there's no question about it. You got to get this up and down. And I hit a good chip shot, actually. And it just didn't release the way that I thought it was going to. I actually, when I hit it, I was like, I think I hit that inside 3 feet.
Yeah.
Came out, what, 8 or 10 feet short. And I'm looking at that going, well, it all comes down to this. And the funny part of it was I'd putted well all week. And then on the back 9 on Sunday, my putter just completely abandoned me. I didn't hit a single good putt on the back 9, which really rattled me, because I actually could have competed to, be way up in the tournament. So there I am sitting on 18, and my only thought was just hit a good putt, just, hit a good putt, and, said a little prayer, and all of a sudden, I hit a good putt. As soon as I hit it, I knew that it was in. I had the read on it. It was locked in, and I hit it, and I'm like, made it. And I looked up and it went in. So it's kind of a cool feeling. It was more honestly like, I never really had any like, wow, sweet, I'm going back to the PGA Tour. I got the more sense of accomplishment from just like, hey, I had to buckle down and make that putt. Making that putt, honestly, was a better feeling than going to the PGA Tour. Like, I know I'm good enough to be on the PGA Tour. It was going to happen this year, next year, maybe 2 years from now. I don't know. It was a matter of time. But just the satisfaction of looking myself in the mirror, knowing I had to make that putt and rolling it in. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, we were following. Harv and I were locked in all day on Sunday. Just the group chat's blowing up with every putt that you had, and like you said, I think it was you shot 66 on Saturday, and then we've pick up the coverage when it comes on air, and I think you were on like 7 at the time, and then there were some putts there. It's like you were close, like you had some some good putts that just happened to be buzzing the hole and stuff. It's like, man, if he shot 66, he could be that or better today. And it just seemed like nothing was dropping. And it was just a matter of time. And like you say, you nutted up at the right time to get that putt in.
My favorite part of that whole story was when you said that you were between 6 and 7, and then right at the last second, you thought, don't go long. That was the best.
It's so
that's what you do all the time,
exactly.
all the time.
Oh, man. I mean, we're not exempt from
one of us.
I mean, I was like,
Yeah.
Well, and I think it was Mason Anderson right after you. He did go long there, and it went right in the water. It's like, yep, that's why you're not going deep.
I played the golf course many times before, and that's the traditional Sunday pin. And I've seen so many people dunk that shot in the water. So I
Yep.
knew that was a reality. It was just a sticky number, If we were 3 yards closer, it's a 7 iron all day, and I can get it to within, 30, 25, 30 feet. Now I can make it, but then, sitting there in the 40-foot range, it's like, well, you need some luck to drain that. So
Just touching back on the not knowing where you were, because that's kind of a misconception when you're watching. Like we were watching it, and some of the reactions of some of the players, it seemed like they knew where they
Yeah.
were, or had a very good idea. Like you said, you kind of knew where you were, but it seemed like they knew if they made a putt or missed a putt where they would be. Is it against the rules to like have the PGA Tour app on your phone just to be like, hey, this is the live projected standings? Because like
I don't know the answer to that really. Like I've gotten mixed reviews from rules officials that say like you can use your phone to like look at a compass.
Yeah, because like it was just as quick on the app,
Yeah.
live projected standings to what we were watching on the screen. So it's just like if they don't have nearly the scoreboards on the Corn Ferry as they do on the PGA Tour, it's like how do these guys even know where they are? Because we're living and dying with you while watching, and it's like
Yeah, it was
does
tough.
he
Like
know that? Because they're like, if you bogey this hole, you're 23rd, or you move to 28. But if you birdie, you're 23rd. I'm like, does he know that?
Yeah. He
yeah,
doesn't.
I have no idea,
Yeah.
but you have a feeling, like I was comfortable at 7, I was uncomfortable at 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have like a feeling too, like how the day's going, where the pin locations are, like um Saturday I felt was a little more gettable. There's some more accessible pin locations. And then on Sunday too, everyone's a little bit more tight too, right? Like Sunday's the day. It's always a little bit more tight. There's going to be a couple guys that string a good round together, but for the most part, people kind of get on Sunday, especially near the top, kind of into like a protection mode, right? Especially on that tournament, considering what's on the line. Uh, so you kind of have a feel of what's going on that day. Um, and what was it? When did I get to 7? I got to 7 under at 9. And I happened to glance at the leaderboard when I walked by, and I think I was like T8 at the time. Um,
Mhm.
so I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I started the day at T11, I think, and I kind of figured if I stayed in that position, a couple guys were gonna crumble, and I would sneak up. I would jump up a spot or two. So my whole goal was just, okay, 7 under with 9 holes to go, considering the finishing holes. I was like, okay, 7 under is going to finish 11th or better, end up
Yeah.
finishing 6th, right? Just because the wind picked up. But yeah, you don't really know, but you just have a feeling of what's going on.
Would
Yeah.
you want to know, or are you better off not knowing?
I don't know. That's the thing. Like I remember a couple years ago when I was at the Wyndham and I had to move from like 132 to get into the FedEx Cup playoffs, and I ended up getting into the playoff to win the golf tournament. I didn't look at the leaderboard at all because it was so overwhelming. It was like there was so much going on because I remember in that situation, I think at one point the leader was 16 under. I'm at 14 under. And I looked at Nick Taylor, who finished at 12 under, and I'm like, man, he's T19. So I'm like, okay, if I make 2 bogeys coming in, I don't go to the playoffs. If I make 2 birdies going in, I could win the golf tournament. This is way too much for me to like
Yeah.
comprehend. So the only thing I can really control right now is the next shot.
Yeah.
And I just got so immersed in just like, okay, this is all that I can really like get into. So that was my game plan on Sunday. But yeah, it was like you glance at it every once in a while, and I wish I didn't, because I think it kind of played a little tricks on me when I was putting on the back nine. If I had
Right.
just stayed the course, I might have made a couple of those putts on the back nine. But whatever.
Was Ben Coles there just like keeping everyone loose because he had the thing like wrapped up already? Like he was just drinking beers and whatever, keeping you
Yeah, I mean,
guys.
honestly, I had a really good group. I really enjoyed playing with Ben. Ben and I have a pretty good relationship going back many years, and I think he pretty much had number one locked up, barring one or two players actually
They had to
you know
win, I think, but they didn't obviously.
doing something crazy. So he uh he was fun to play with. So it was nice. And I actually went up to him afterwards and I said thank you because it was nice. I could just if I needed to unwind a little bit, I could go to him and like have a conversation or something or bring something up. And so I said thank you to him because that's huge to have somebody in the group that you can just comfortably have a conversation with. I wasn't gonna have a conversation with Shad. Shad was in his own little
Oh
world
yeah.
doing his job, and I got to respect that, right? So I'm not gonna really try to loosen him up or whatnot.
Maybe you should have on 15 though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah. We were gonna ask you if you knew what happened there, if he knew what happened prior to getting into the scorers tent, or what kind of happened there. Cause it was, I mean,
All I
obviously it's a
knew
huge
was
deal.
a rules official came up to him either on 16 or 17 and only talked to him. And I always thought the rules official was going to come up to us and kind of say, hey guys, pick up the pace a little bit, but he didn't. They went straight to him. Okay, something's going on there. And then walking up to 18T, the head rules official was talking to him. I'm like, okay, something's going on here. This is weird. So when we get done, we go up to scoring. Scoring was in a little bit more of a public place than normal. So they took him down into the rules office to talk to him. It was about 15 minutes before he popped up to scoring. So I'm just sitting there because he has my scorecard. And so I was
Right.
just kind of sitting there. Um, and it was all speculation as to what was going on. And when he came up into scoring, they were like, yeah, it's going to be a two-stroke penalty. And he was just livid. Are you kidding me? Because he knew the consequences of it, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What I found interesting was he bogeyed the last hole. So I would like to know if he had parred the last hole and had a two-stroke penalty, does he still have enough points to get in? Because I think the pressure kind of got to him on 18. He hooked his tee shot way, way
Yeah.
left and tried to hit a hero shot, didn't work, and ended up making bogey.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's neither here nor there. So I didn't really realize what was going on 15 until I saw like a clip on Twitter maybe last night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just placed his ball twice. I
I
didn't
didn't
know.
even know that was a rule, to be honest.
I,
Yeah.
I think in that situation, from what I saw, I think it's one of those moments where you're just so in the zone. And I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he was just so in the zone. I don't even think he realized what he did.
Probably
I just,
not. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was like a reactionary thing. His mind was elsewhere and he just saw his ball move and he moved it. He was probably contemplating, do I put it here? Do I put it there? He might have put it here. And as it rolled, I'll just put it back in that other spot. Right.
Yeah.
I don't think he was even aware of
Yeah.
what he was.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
then
and you hear lots about those types of occurrences, and protecting the field and things like that. As a fellow competitor, do you find that is kind of that gray area where he probably didn't mean anything by it? So
a rule is a rule, and
yeah,
in golf, it's black or white, right? It's your responsibility as a player to know the rules, understand them, and play by them. So I know some guys have their opinions, and they say that's BS. There should be some leeway, but I mean, there's in golf, it's black or white, and that's what makes our game so good.
yeah, right on. So go ahead.
I had just a question of like, it's obviously early in your, I guess, future going forward with the PGA Tour. So the schedule's changed quite a bit probably since the last time. Have you thought about what that's going to look like or how that kind of is going to impact on what you did last time and what it's going to look like here going forward for you?
The PGA Tour schedule is set up in such a manner that if you play really well, you get into some really big tournaments. So, you just do the best you can to play the best that you can. It was funny, my caddy who, Todd Clarkson, he's a Calgary boy. He's a beauty. I love him. We had the mentality all week last week. I probably had my C game last week. I managed the golf course really, really well. I was really impressed with that, but my C game was there. So we kind of,
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Dead frozen.
it's just kind of the same thing.
Oh, he's back.
We lost you.
Oh, you lost me?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, you got to go right back to the start with the
C
C game
game.
stuff.
Okay, so yeah, I had my C game. So our mentality for the whole week was just we're a bunch of third liners, and we got Daryl Sutter tapping us on the shoulder. And, all right, boys, go in there, get dirty. And that was kind of our deal. The whole week was just grind, grind, grind. And sometimes you're gonna pop a couple goals, and sometimes you're gonna let in a few. So when you talk about the schedule next year, I think the same mentality. It's just like, hey, we're just gonna go grind, 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 and your name gets called when it gets called because we're in the graduating category, so we fill the fields, right? So I'm not sure how that's gonna look. I'm gonna get in a bunch of tournaments. Whenever I get my name called, you just go play the best you can.
Okay.
Yeah. When's technically the first one that you can get into? When does that start? 'Cause
I
know
mean,
that-
it's kind of like I don't know. There's speculation already because they increased the amount of people that get to play the Tournament of Champions out in Maui. So
Mhm.
they're like, oh, all those guys are gonna go play the Sony too, right?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of those guys that are playing in all the designated events, there's no real reason for them to go play the Sony. I don't know. Again, it's all speculation, right? So based
Right.
on years past, yeah, my first start would be the Sony. But if all these guys that they've allowed go play the Tournament of Champions want to go play the Sony, then I mean, who knows? I mean, some guys like starting in Hawaii, some guys don't. But we'll see when our number gets called and we'll be ready to
Yeah.
go.
I'd always go to Hawaii if I had the choice.
Even though it burned down.
That's only one of the islands.
Yeah, no, that's kind of we just wanted to catch up with you, see how you're feeling. We're excited for you, excited to see you again on tour and obviously in hopefully in Toronto again this upcoming year.
Did you watch the Ryder Cup?
What Ryder Cup?
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Nice.
I mean, come on. I mean, everyone's asking me. I was like, it's not even, it's over. I mean, it was hilarious watching it on the Sunday singles too, because the commentators, which are all American, they're building up this story. Oh, it could happen. This comeback could happen. There's a chance. There's a chance. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, Ricky Fowler's on the tee, and they're like, "Oh, everything rests on this tee shot." And I'm like, "Wait a minute! You've just been pushing a narrative for 2 hours that it could happen, and then all of a sudden, Ricky Fowler's tee shot is the difference maker here." I was like, "There was no comeback. There was no chance. Like it was the probability of that happening was so small because." I think the Americans lost a lot of their talent to live. The Europeans didn't. I mean, who did the Europeans lose? Henrik
Nobody.
Stenson and Sergio Garcia. I mean, those guys probably weren't going to make the team anyways, right?
They weren't.
And I mean, that European team is stacked. Those guys are playing good golf right now.
Mhm.
All the Americans, they played good from January through May, and none of them have really done anything since. So, not surprising. I think that the Americans were maybe a little mismanaged also.
Yep.
Like this whole business mentality. You want to know why the Europeans win all the time? It's because those guys hang out together all the time. Anytime you go to a PGA Tour event, all of those guys are hanging out, having a brew, having a laugh. They're best mates, all of them. They're best buddies. The Americans, it's like, okay, Scotty and Sam Burns, and then you got Xander and Patrick Cantlay over here, and then you got your JT and your Jordan Spieth and your Ricky Fowler, but none of them like, hang out, right?
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden you get to the Ryder Cup, and it's so like, what? Why are they flying out to Rome 3 weeks ago? Like, come on. Like we're professional golfers. We can show up on Tuesday and we can figure a golf course out by Friday, right? Like it's too manufactured, it's too business like, right? It's like, hey,
Yeah.
quit it. I mean, they shut down the interviews after the opening ceremonies for the Americans, right? They're like, no, we're business first, back to our room. We got a job to do. Europeans are like, hey, let's go have a brew, boys.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good segue. I'm sure we'll talk to you again before next September, but you think that's being in Montreal and President's Cup, you think that's something that, the international team's going to have on their side again? It's kind of this maybe reeling American side and that camaraderie that comes with the internationals. You think give us your 11-month out thoughts on the President's Cup?
That one's going to be tough because the President's Cup lost, or the internationals lost a lot of players to the live.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I mean, you got Leishman, you got Oosthuizen,
Neiman.
Joaquin.
Cam.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Smith.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like, so, um,
Yeah.
but then, yeah, it's just,
We'll see.
I don't know. Actually, I haven't really looked at it that much. I mean, obviously, with Weirzy being the captain, I think he's got a tall order ahead of him. But it's going to be interesting how this year goes. I think there's going to be a few Canadian boys that are going to be in contention to be on that team.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you talk about playing in front of the home fans, that's a huge bonus. The Americans are going to have a bounce back year. It's going to be tough. It
Yeah.
is. It's going to be tough. But you never know. I mean, shoot, you never know who rising stars are going to come up this year. And I mean, come on, it's got to happen. I mean, the president's, it's getting old. It's getting boring, right? Like,
Mhm.
Well, Aberg came out of nowhere. Like, why can't that happen somewhere else too, right? Maybe there's an Asian guy or Canadian or somebody that comes out of nowhere this year.
I know a
yeah, but
Canadian.
you need a few more guys, eh? Like,
Yep.
and that's the
Yeah.
other thing is those Americans, they get it every year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that's kind of working against the internationals. But I think being in Canada is going to be a good thing because it's kind of it's like a home situation, right? So you're technically on international home soil, but you feel super comfortable because it's North America. There's not a lot of difference between Canada and America as far as your infrastructure is concerned. So you're not getting used to a whole new country, right? It's not like we're going over to Australia where only 3 members are really from there. So that I think that could work in the internationals' favor. But yeah, I don't know, it'll be interesting. But something needs to change, honestly, because the President's Cup is it's getting boring just watching the Americans win every single year.
Yeah.
So hopefully something can happen this year.
Okay. One last thing, but we can't let you go with the NHL starting tomorrow without talking about the Flames and thoughts. They're going to be a fire, that's for
They'll
sure.
be better than the Habs. So
I think the Flames will be better than they were last year. I think they'll make the playoffs.
there you go.
Okay. All right.
I mean, you had a lot of players that played very poorly last year.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, when Tyler Toffoli's your leading scorer and you're paying a couple other of those boys some of those salaries, I mean, you got problems. But I think word on the street now that they got the new rink announced, I think a lot of guys have a lot of, there's just a little bit more spirit for some of those boys. I think, some of those free agents too, right? I mean, some of those guys that haven't locked up, they got contract years, so they're going to play well regardless. Markstrom's going to have a bounce back year. I hope Huberdeau plays a little bit better. He can't really play much worse than he did last year.
That's right.
I think Sutter being I was a big Sutter fan. I like Sutter. I like the way that he coaches, but I also think that it's a dated style of hockey.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of these young guys, they want a little bit more freedom. I think Huberdeau grew up in a pretty free environment down there in Florida. And so I don't know what the new coaching style is going to be like, but I think those guys are going to have a little bit more freedom to do what they do, and they'll be a little bit better. But as long as they beat the Canucks, that's good.
Yep, right on.
Mhm.
You guys got anything else for Raj?
Is he going to go in our hockey pool? 20
Oh,
bucks?
yeah, $20. Yeah. You want to? We're sending out the DTG NHL box pool here. It goes live tonight. So this week I'll send you an entry. You can throw your hat in the ring.
Throw my hat.
Yeah, we'll probably you'd have a free entry into it.
Free entry.
No, he's paying
Actually-
$20.
I can take the $20.
Okay, right on. Well, Roger, it's good to see you again. Congratulations. I know it's been a whirlwind here for you, so we appreciate taking some time to hop on a call with us. And like I say, I think this is 5 or 6 times you've joined us. You're our main guy, man. It's
No, I love it, boy. I love being
awesome.
on the show. So anytime we'll catch up hopefully sometime in the new year, and hopefully we'll have some maybe a nice trophy we can talk about.
Yes, that'd
Yes,
be great.
sir.
Yep.
All right. Sounds good, Raj.
All right,
Take
see you,
care.
boys.
Yeah,
Have a
have
good
a
one.
good one.
Bye.